Hi, everyone. This is Basel. How's everyone doing? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hey, how's it going? Diane, thank you for joining. Hi, Massine. Hey, Liam.
Good.
How you doing? Good to see you here, brother.
Morning, everyone.
Hello. Hi, Luis. We have quite a few people joining, so let's give everyone a few more minutes to join. Hi, Nicole. It's nice to see your beautiful face. And so it's been a while.
How are you?
Good. I'm doing well.
Good.
All right. Getting some questions ready here. Let's make sure everybody is admitted in. And then let me set it. Everyone can come in. Okay. Hello. Welcome. Hey, Alex, how are you? Hi, Stuart.
Hello, how you going?
How you doing?
Good. How are you? All right. I'm just saying, let's give everyone a few more minutes to join. Quite a few people. And then unless you're going to ask a question, it would be good to unmute. Let me see. Let me. Okay. There's supposed to be there used to be a function that allow me to mute everyone. Here. Okay. That mutes everyone. And then now anybody who wants to speak can unmute. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. Yeah, how are you, Nicole? How's everything with you? How's the family? Oh, can you're not able to manually unmute? Okay, so let's see. All right, what about now?
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody's good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh, good. The little kids both boys are growing up fast.
How old are they now?
Ryan's 8 and Zane is turning 5 on Friday.
Oh my God.
We're going to a water park, if you remember those days.
I do.
It's like, those are fun for like the first 17 times, and you're like, oh my God, we're doing this again. It'll be a good time.
Fun. Each age you do it with, there's a different experience. So.
Yeah, it's always it's pretty wonderful. Yeah. Oh yes, thank you, Liam. Appreciate that. All right, it's 4:03. Give it just a few more minutes. People are still coming through. It's quite a few people who registered, so I want to give them an opportunity to come through. But yeah, and some people out east are a little upset that this is scheduled around the time of the New York Knicks game. I love the Knicks, but I just didn't know if they were going to actually go past the first round, the playoffs. So we'll see. Let's see how they do tonight. But I'll do my best to make it worth your while. And then we might have time for a little demo too of the Son of Basel. I think, Nicole, you're gonna like this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. He's like my little clown.
I see him up there.
All right. So 4:04. Maybe one more minute. Alex, can you, unless you have a question, can you go on mute? It doesn't let me mute a specific person. I don't. It doesn't let me do that. Let's see. I have to do the same thing again. There you go. And then are you able, Liam, can you just test if you can go unmute, please? Does it work?
Yeah, Basel, it works. Does. Yeah.
Indranil.
Hey, hello.
Oh, what's up, brother?
Hi, Nicole. Good to see you.
Hey,
Wow, I haven't heard and Montes is on too, but he's being too shy. He doesn't want to show his beautiful, happy New York face. All right, guys. Well, I think we just go ahead and get started. There's quite a bit to go through, but I want to, as I do these workshops, I try to make them as interactive as possible, and I really want as much back and forth. And if you have any questions, or hey, Montes, if you have anything that you want me to clarify, elaborate on, expand upon, please don't think twice. Do not hesitate. Like I want this to be as interesting and as captivating and as meaningful for all of you. I've put a lot of time into making sure that we're as prepared as we can be in everything that we're doing. So my name is Basel Ismail. So my background is in financial engineering, product development, data science. It's really been my space for a few decades. And I was most recently in corporate America, where I was the director of product engineering and AI at American Express. And I've bounced around from different countries around the world, but most recently came from New York. And then I'm living in Arizona now in the desert. I'm married, 2 boys. And most recently, what I've been focusing on all of my time and attention on is on FirmAdapt. And really, it's 2 parts. It's business process reengineering and AI automation. So taking inefficient, extremely frustrating, manual intensive processes, re-engineering them, streamlining them, optimizing them, and then when applicable, introduce AI automation on top of it, right? Because you can't just introduce AI automation on top of a broken process. You have to streamline, rationalize, optimize before you even consider, introducing AI. So I've worked with AI for a long, long time. So I would say more than 15 years. Before it was even called artificial intelligence, I was spending the majority of my time building machine learning models and different statistical algorithms to help with predicting human behavior in different capacities. And really, exactly, there's nothing worse than automating inefficient process. That's exactly it, Luis. So, and really over the years, I've learned that AI it's not going anywhere. It's going to continue to stay. And that's really the reason I wanted to do the workshop. Is the workshop is focusing on executives, decision makers, founders, and really the C-suite operators who are driving change in their own business. It doesn't matter if it's publicly traded or privately managed, the problems are still the same. And you will be surprised when you see how convoluted and how complicated some of these processes are that companies are suffering from. And from all the meetings that I've been having with clients, they've told me their problems, right? They've said it's the same common ingredients each time. So we'll go through that. But what I'll do now is I will share my screen to make sure that you can see everything properly. And then we will take it from there. So the way that we typically do everything is we typically have 3 steps. And I'll walk you through it. So, and this is exactly how I would do it. So the way I would do and approach every single project, and when I've done any type of consulting engagement that I'm working on with KPMG or Boston Consulting Group or a task force that I've led in corporate America, it's the same exact process. And this is exactly what I would recommend to anyone who's starting with AI, is to always go through these 3 same steps. So first, it's auditing and diagnosing your current processes. So what are you doing today that you're not happy with, that you feel is operationally inefficient, that is manual intensive, right? That is literally step 1. That is getting an understanding of what is your point of departure. right? So what is the current state? And I'll show you how to do that. So we've built enterprise grade tools to help you do that completely for free. So unlike others who are charging, fairly or unfairly, it's their prerogative to do it. But they're charging upwards to 1,000 to 5,000 per audit. I don't think that that's required. So that's step one. And then inventorying and itemizing the current processes. So making sure that you're understanding exactly what are the current processes that you're doing today. What are the current functions? What are the current resources that you have? Are they on-site? Are they remote? Are they part-time? Are they full-time? Are they contingent? Are they some type of contractor workforce? So being able to have a proper understanding of your resources relative to what functions, and then mapping that. That's step two. That is absolutely critical to everything you're doing, because then you'll be able to know and be prepared for the third step, which is then figuring out where is the low-hanging fruit? What are the quickest, most transformational changes you can do that will have the largest long-lasting impact, right, on the business? And whether or not that's maximizing revenue, whether or not that's minimizing your expenses, whether or not that's making you more potentially attractive as an acquisition target, if you're trying to repackage and restructure the business to be acquired by a venture capitalist group or by a private equity group or by a group of a family of investors. The same process. It's the same process every time. So it's auditing, inventorying, and itemizing your current processes, your tasks, and your resources, and then you focus on transforming. If you don't follow this process, I promise you, please trust me, that it's going to be a very painful exercise, because you're just going to be flying blind and you're not going to be able to make informed decisions. So this is why this is the process we follow. The thing that I want to be able to just explain, and I'll go through proper audits, is when you're going to go through this entire space, I would say, is filled with self-proclaimed AI automation experts. So these are people who, in the last 3 to 6 months, are jumping on the bandwagon, and that's perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to make a business off of this. Now, but you need to, as a business owner, as an operator, as a decision maker, you need to be able to differentiate who is a legitimate subject matter expert versus someone who doesn't actually have any formal functional expertise in what you're asking. They're just really good at either sales or really good at marketing, or they're really good at brand positioning. But when it comes to brass tacks and they actually have to get the work done, they don't know where to start, or they don't know what questions to ask. And I've seen this, and then that leads to them like providing the most unbelievably, extraordinarily high estimates for what the projects are going to be, budgeted for, what they're asking for in terms of a budget. So just throughout the workshop, I'll show, and I'll give you tips and advice that hopefully will help you be able to just make just more informed decisions. That's literally like the entire purpose of today. I just want to be able to help you as you're going through this, because the feedback that I've been getting, and thank you for everyone who's been sending me feedback, it's been awesome. I could see that a lot of people are having trouble with knowing where to start. They have no idea how to run an audit. They don't know how to interpret the audit results. They don't understand which sector they should even be looking at, like within their company, with which department they should start, which sub-department, which particular function. So that's what we'll go through today. So I think we should just jump right in. So I would say that there's 2 ways to start an audit, right? And the first thing is to just ask yourself, like, what is the biggest operational vulnerability that you have today? So just give that some thought. And as you're thinking about that, just know that there's 2 ways that I want to show you that is the best way to get started. One is you could literally just go to the /AI page, so firmadapt.com/AI. It's completely for free. It's an AI job map. So I feel like there's nothing like it in the market. It's completely global, so it's not US-centric at all. It's across dozens of countries. And what this allows you to do is to just shows you which jobs will likely be impacted in some capacity by artificial intelligence. And then think of that on a spectrum of disruption, right? So on the left-hand side of the disruption, you have low potential impact by AI. And on the right side of the spectrum, you have the most extreme impact by AI, which is full displacement, right? So full elimination of the role, full displacement of your function, full displacement potentially of your departmental function. So think of that as some type of continuum, right? A spectrum from left to right. So this helps you see that. And then you can filter to whichever country we want. So right now, let's just focus on the United States. But like for Liam, for example, he lives in Australia and he's one of our partners who's helping us grow in that market. He focuses on Australia, right? Australia, New Zealand, etc. So for us, for our purposes, we'll do US. And what it does is it's telling you there's 1,100 occupations across the country, occupation categories. Out of that, there's 34% that are considered AI resilient, right? So think of this, you know, when people say, oh, these are recession-resistant stocks, these are recession-resistant roles, right? It's very similar. So these are AI resilient jobs, and I'll explain what those are. But a simple example is a physician or a professional dentist, right? Or an oral surgeon that has very low displacement risk. And the reason it has low displacement risk is because those professionals need to be board certified, they need to be credentialed, they have insurance protections, they have liability. It's a very litigious field, right? So when you have those 5 items, that makes it an extremely low risk of displacement. Even in the future, if you have humanoid robots, those are very likely not going to replace those particular roles, at least for the foreseeable future, right? So that's AI resiliency. And the reason I'm explaining it is because that really carries through to like everything that we're going to go through today. Now, out of all the jobs that the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows, there's about 6+ million that are considered open, right? And 16% out of the jobs today have a high risk of displacement. I know you may not think that that's significant. It's a lot more significant than you may realize or may even want to just admit. Because think about, so we're almost at 400 million now, right? Across the United States. So just do the math, right? So you're talking about a very significant percent of the population who's going to be impacted by AI in some way. It doesn't mean full displacement, right? So again, it does not mean full displacement, but it means that you have to be prepared. So the way you use the AI job map is the whole goal of this first step is to figure out where in your business, which function is very likely to be impacted. So for example, if you work in if you have a function or a department that is responsible for office and administrative work, these are all the different categories that are impacted. Now, everything is in a tree map. So anything that is darkish orange to red means that those functions really you should already be considering how to introduce AI automation and process reengineering into those functions like yesterday, right? Because to me, that is the lowest hanging fruit. So, and I'll do a demo and I'll show you what that means, sort of to wrap your mind around it. But this means like office clerks, customer service representatives, the bookkeepers, so junior level accountants, junior level financial analysts, junior level billing analysts, secretaries, administrative assistants. So those roles, you really should consider looking at introducing automation to try to help clear up their time. And that's how it should be positioned. It should not be positioned as this is an AI displacement function. It's not. It's meant to be pushing you to free up their time and capacity so they can be productive in other things. So when you click this function, so let's say customer service reps. Now these are known as support agents, help desk agents, etc. There's about 2.9 million. There's even more because it's classified in different terms, but let's say there's 2.9 million here. It tells you whether or not this is the legal liability shield that I was talking about that professionals have, like physicians have, that board certified or surgeons have, radiologists, diagnostic radiologists have. They don't hire foreign medical graduates for roles in the United States because it doesn't have the proper insurance protection. So this legal liability shield helps you figure that out. When it's really high, stay away from those roles. Those are not, you're not going to have a good time trying to introduce automations in those particular roles. But if you have an 8 out of 100, now this is interesting, right? Because it's mostly unregulated work. So whenever you have regulation, avoid it. So when you're talking about HIPAA compliance, right? I know there's a lot of AI automation experts who are focusing on healthcare and they're trying to automate health-related functions. That's extremely regulated, highly compliant space. And that requires very strict rules that have to be adhered to. And if you don't have the proper licenses, you don't have the proper credentials, the proper permits in place, you're not going to be able to make a lot of headway in that space. But in an unregulated space, there's a lot of opportunity. And this whole tool is meant to just make your life easier in being able to say, why is this job at risk? Is that AI chatbots have already started infiltrating that space, albeit they're not as good when you use the generic ones. But if you use a finely tuned chatbot that is trained on your past customer interactions, then it's extremely effective, right? Same with virtual assistants, the same with self-service portals. These are not helpful if you're using them off the shelf, but if you customize it to your particular needs, they are extremely helpful. And that's really what this tool's for. So you know, this is, I think, is a very good starting point in just being able to know, like, okay, where in my business is there potential corporate bloat? It's not a guarantee, right? And like, please don't take offense. Don't shoot the messenger, right? I'm just the person who works in this space, and I know that this is going to frustrate people. Now, but I tried to be as objective as I humanly could be in building this, because I know that it's going to ruffle some feathers and that it's going to frustrate some people, but I'm here to help, right? So when you see sales and related functions and you see that as being like, why is that orange? Like, just click it. And then just take a few minutes to understand, like, why is it only 24 of 100 in terms of liability shield? Why is the risk of this potentially being impacted by AI high, right? And there's a lot. So like insurance sales, like I've gone into arguments with insurance agents, insurance brokers, real estate agents, real estate brokers, because they feel that there's some pressure, right? But they're not quite concerned yet, but they're getting there. And you could see it's significant. Like it's as time goes on, I promise you, and you could keep checking this every quarter. Just check it a few times. You'll start seeing it color more and more. It'll continue to darken. And that's interesting, right? So like financial advisor, if you're a financial advisor or you're managing a team of financial advisors, I would be a little concerned. I wouldn't be concerned like 90 out of 100, but I would probably be 60 out of 100. I would be thinking twice about, like, okay, how do I make myself as a competitive edge versus everyone else? How do I differentiate myself from my peers, right? So if you're managing a team of financial managers, billing managers, accounting managers, financial advisors, investment advisors, if you're managing anything to do with that, there's definitely some opportunity to introduce process flattening, streamlining, and rationalizing. So rationalizing in this space means just cutting that function out. And I'll walk through that. And then the other thing in this section too is if you are in this role and you're like, how do I survive? I added this little survival strategy. So these are just like tips and tricks to try to keep yourself basically attractive, right? Like you're trying to keep yourself like sexy in the space of corporate America. Like, how do you keep yourself recruitable? How do you keep yourself highly marketable, right? And then this is how you would survive if you are in this role, right? And then this is even a faster way, is you could just immediately look, what are the 10 most vulnerable roles? And right away, you can see whether or not you have overlap to your existing team. So, and I think hopefully now you're starting to understand that that's why when I'm showing you the slides, right, and you're You're like, why do we have to spend so much time documenting every process, documenting and understanding every resource? The reason is you can't properly audit your current functions without understanding exactly what your point of departure is. And the only way to do that is to have an understanding of your resources and what their roles are and what they're doing and so forth. And like, this is literally what I used to do in American Express and in other companies as well. And literally what I used to do is I used to go next to customer service reps and go directly to the actual agencies, go sit next to them and do time value studies, right? So these are time value engineering studies. So it's part of workforce and capacity planning. And so that's my experience. So this is literally what I used to build out FirmAdapt. And that's like literally what I've been doing for a long time on the side. So like, I know what's involved, and I promise you, if you do this, you're going to save a lot of time. So like what I used to do is I used to go next to each person who used to answer client calls, and I would just sit there and observe. As like awkward as that sounds, I used to just sit there and I used to just study them. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing? And I would just shadow them, and mostly just, I would do it quietly, and I would write down exactly what they're doing. And I would do it like every few hours. I would rotate to another resource, and I would do it over the course of 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. And then at the end of it, I would tabulate, collect all of my feedback, and you would be shocked at how many opportunities I found. So I'm like, okay, these 37 customer service representatives or client analysts or client managers were spending 6 minutes each call doing this function. And they were doing it 47 times, right, in 2 days. So then you extrapolate from there, times the number of resources, times 2 weeks. You're like, there's about like 17% of their time is being spent doing this one task that can be reduced from 6 minutes to probably like 27 seconds, right? And you're talking about like a 95% rationalization there, right? You're talking about re-optimizing their entire process. And you're also improving their satisfaction, right? Because the employees are happier. The business is happier because they're saving costs and freeing up their time so their employees can do other activities that could potentially be revenue generating, or pursuing leads and prospects that are not yet generating revenue for the company. So there's so much that they're doing. It's literally a win-win. So that's just like one small example. So if you take that small example and apply it to other functions, you'll be shocked at how much time you could save. But yeah, so that's one way to get started is take a look at the job map and just try to start wrapping your mind around, okay, do I have any entry keyers? Do I have any telemarketers? Do I have any order clerks? Do I have any billing and posting clerks? Like, what functions do I have in my business, right? And that's the way. So that's my humble advice in terms of doing that. Now, another way that is more direct to you is running a proper audit, okay? And the way you would do a proper audit is you literally just go to the website, so FirmAdapt.com, and then you just click this massive button, Audit My Company. All you do is you literally just type in, a company name like Cargill. Cargill is like one of the largest privately managed companies in the world. You type in their website name. That is it. And the reason the website is so important is because it's the unique identifier for everything in that business, okay? And I'll go into more detail later. So then you click Begin Audit. Then it asks you, what do you even want to focus on? Because, I mean, we can produce a 200-page audit, but that's may or may not even, hit the spots that you're looking for. So you choose. So you say, well, there's probably, team is overwhelmed. I feel like revenue is plateauing. I'm not sure how to generate potentially new revenue lines. I have absolutely no idea where to start with AI. And then you add your own feedback. So I feel like my department is potentially not as efficient as possible. My leader is asking me to identify areas in the business which can be optimized and or automated, right? And then you write continue to audit, and then it runs. So at the end of it, takes about 5 minutes. At the end of it, you get like a comprehensive study. So like this study, for example, is Mars, which hopefully because I love like anything to do with chocolate. So basically, they're like a massive conglomerate that has family-owned business. They have multiple departments, multiple functions. And if it's a privately managed business, you would run the audit exactly the way I showed you. If it's a publicly managed audit, so if it's a publicly managed company, it needs to be, you just go to FirmAdapt and then you click audits and then you click company audit. So again, if it's a publicly managed company, so publicly traded equity company anywhere in the world, even in Indonesia, you could run an audit here. And you just go audits, company audit, and then you type in the company name here, right? So let's say we want NVIDIA, there it is. Or if we want Tesla, there. If it's Microsoft, it's there, right? The Intel is there. I mean, these are like massive multi-trillion-dollar companies, but they're there. So, and we'll go through the public audit after, but this is the private audit. So this would probably be more applicable to the majority of you. Now, the beauty of this is that right away, it's telling you Mars should deploy enterprise AI automation across its 140,000 person workforce, right? And they can see that there's rising operational costs. There's some supply chain demand forecasting that could potentially be done in a more efficient way. And it can save them, you're talking about anywhere from 8 figures, even upwards to 9 figures. Now, there's only so much that we can do in terms of identifying where the low-hanging fruit is from an outsider look, but that's where you also come in and you introduce some of that internal work. As you're doing the audit, you explain what you're looking for. And then you can also upload your own files. So like when, if we help you with the audit, you could give us the statements and then we'll take a closer look and do like a proper forensic audit, right? Because that's the way to really do it, is you do a proper forensic audit, look at the financials, export all of the billing and all of the statements, take a line item look at every single excessive function that's not driving revenue or not tied to some type of general ledger. Right? Like it's just so much there. But let's stick to Mars here. It's telling you where the positive signals are. And where we want to focus on is these material concerns. So you can clearly see that there's a massive manual-driven group of processes across 140,000 employees. Operational costs are rising, and then there's countless pages on their website, which is broken. But this is like more minor. And then there's cautionary notes, like relative to their brand and relative to competitors in their space, they don't seem to have an established social media presence. Now, this is extremely important. So this is very important. Another thing is that there doesn't seem to be comprehensive customer testimonials on the company itself, right? They themselves have based upon mine, right? So I've said that I'm acknowledging that there's like an AI readiness gap, but if you're acknowledging what it's showing, it's going to show that as well, right? Now, this is where it gets interesting. So you can look at their online presence. You can look at whether or not there's customer testimonials across Trustpilot, around Google, around like Clutch, around Capterra, around G2. So all of those review sites are critical. Like it's absolutely essential. Like we were just helping a client recently that they found that they had a customer testimonial on Trustpilot that they weren't even aware of that was destroying their reputation. And when people were Googling, it was there in the top 3 results, which I think is embarrassing because that needs to be like, and it was a spam. It was a spam review. And so we helped them like eliminate it. Now that's a little more frustrating, but they were trying to raise capital. And that was the first thing you see. And we're like, okay, this needs to be like extinguished immediately, right? Now, there's also a whole section on AI readiness. So it's telling you that there's no stated AI strategy. There's a supply chain process problems. And then there's recommended actions, right? So it's like establishing an enterprise AI center of excellence, deploying predictive demand forecasting using machine learning, implementing AI-powered quality inspections, building conversational AI agents to try to help with employee support internally, and also to help external communication and interactions with paying clients as well. And then this one's interesting. See, like this is where it gets juicy. Leveraging pet health data from vet diagnostics to create some type of AI-driven personalized nutrition program. So if you have a pet, you could see that that would definitely resonate with you. So that could be a new product line or a new sector that they tap into and they can capitalize on it. And then if you want to just survive and you're like, okay, what is an imminent threat? The audit shows you that. So it shows you, okay, there's a competitor AI adoption creating efficiency gaps. There's some type of regulatory pressure on sugar. Like, these are critical threats. Right? These are absolutely like very important to consider. And then you have your mitigations against those threats and against other threats that are happening in the industry as well. So where we fit in is this section. So this is the process reengineering and AI automation like space. And it starts walking through which processes does Mars have that can potentially be automated in some capacity. That could be anywhere from 20% to 70%. So supply chain demand forecasting, automation potential is high. Efficiency gain could mean this much, assuming 2 to 4% improvement, right? ROI is this much. Timeline is this. And I tried my best to try to make these as accurate and as conservative as possible, because some of these numbers you're going to feel like are a little optimistic, but when you actually look at some of the data that we have access to, you'll be shocked at how much cost of goods sold really is and how much their operating expense is in these private companies. Like you'll be like, you honestly will, you won't believe me if I told you, you know? So if you could just see how much these operational inefficiencies cost the business, you'll be blown away. So if you think that these numbers are high, they may be high for you for what you think, but when you look at the actual statements, you'll see that they're actually pretty generally in the ballpark. Another opportunity is manufacturing quality inspection, right? Another opportunity, like I said, is employee support. Another opportunity that I'm also doing for my own business is marketing, content creation, and localization. So, and I'll show you. But this is massive, right? And I think every business can benefit from this in terms of marketing, content creation, marketing, content automation, outreach campaigns, automation of being able to follow up with prospects and paying clients, improving communication with clients. All of that can be more or less automated in many ways, right? And then it goes through in much more detail. So it tells you, like, for example, supply chain demand forecasting across 130 countries. This is what the savings would be. Here's what the potential capacity, recovered would be, right? So recovered would be almost like semi-displaced. But that means that time is freed up for you to ask them to do other things as well. And then it tells you whether or not the effort is high or low. Is it a minor effort or major effort? So it depends on what you're looking for, but this audit is exactly what I would start with alongside the AI job map. And this is, there's so much more to go through. But I want to take a pause after the competitive section, and then we'll go through some questions. But the competitive snapshot is probably the second most important section in the whole audit, because it's telling you, how are you even performing relative to your peers, right? Because that's every business owner and every decision maker, every C-suite operator is always looking at, am I feeling competitive pressure and threats from others? And if you are, then you need to be able to see how are they doing, right? Like, what are those competitors doing? What is their advantage? What is our particular edge relative to them, right? Like, what is Mondelez International doing? What is Hershey Company doing relative to them? What is General Mills doing? What is Colgate doing? So I think you get a lot of really good ideas from this, right? Because as you scroll down, you keep seeing more and more, like, what is their biggest advantage? what is their biggest vulnerability, what are some quick wins, and so forth. And then it gives you a radar chart where it tells you, okay, like here is the online presence of Mars relative to their peers. Here's their reputational score. Here's the AI readiness score. So right away, I can see that their social reach, AI readiness, and content quality can definitely be improved upon, right? And obviously, as an insider of the business, you would know a lot more, and you would have a very good idea of what you could possibly do, right? And then it's just there's a lot of detail, right? Now, the other sections, I'll go through them because the third most important section is the website audit. And I'll go through that, but I want to just take a minute to pause. I can see some questions come through. Yes, beautiful layout. What tools did you use to create this diagnostic? So we're using multiple, so we're using like Next.js. So like JavaScript as the front end, and then we use MongoDB on the back end in terms of the infrastructure itself, and then we use Redis for like caching. That's why it loads like instantly, right? That's so everything is cached and pre-populated. And then we have a massive database of trained audits from businesses that help us make sure that our machine learning models are as accurate and as finely tuned and calibrated for this specific diagnostic function as possible. And then we integrate AI on top of it. And the way that we're using AI, we're not just using like an off-the-shelf AI model like GBT or Claude. We're using a model that is trained on a knowledge base that has tens and thousands of documents and thousands of pages of my own analysis and research and hundreds of hours of my own recorded content, all warehoused into that instance. And that instance, think of it as a database. When you run the audit, it's constantly looking at what we know about the company relative to what the knowledge base is showing of whether or not there's pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages, et cetera. And that's how the models are trained to be able to accurately say, here's where we feel your cautionary notes are, here where we feel your advantages, your disadvantage, et cetera. So hopefully that answers that question. What other questions do they have? That's a good, that's a hard question. First good question. What are some, you can just or put your hand up maybe and just ask questions, please. Nothing yet? Okay.
Yeah, we have one there from Montez, and Luis has just made a comment.
I work in finance at the private equity shop, and I think we're losing a ton of productivity due to bad email management and non-productive meetings. How can you help? So for me, when it comes to that, the way that I would approach that is have an understanding of exactly what is considered a good email and what is considered a bad email. And that's exactly what I would do, is I would construct a model that would help me classify and train the model to say good email, bad email. Now that we have a very good set of models that can be able to tell you if it's a good or bad model, or good or bad email, then we can have a group of AI agents, or think of them as like virtual employees, that will be drafting the initial draft of emails back to clients or prospects or that specific function that you're trying to improve. So that's what I would do in terms of email management. And then that'll be deployed and maintained and so forth. So we've done that in the past. I can like walk you through it in more detail. But then in terms of non-productive meetings, honestly, I feel like I've solved that with the son of Basel. So like the son of Basel is here. I don't know if you're seeing him. So he's there. He is like a fully functional member of the team. Okay, like this is literally him, right? So he talks, he speaks, he like provides insights. So I can unmute him later, and we can, if we have some time, and you can ask questions and so forth. But he manages a team of virtual employees, and with each employee having a very specific function. And what I would do is I would create like a son of Montes or a daughter of Montes. I know you have a girl, so a daughter of Montes. And then the daughter of Montis would join all your meetings and would not just take notes, but also itemize action items and then derive insights about those meetings, search across meetings to see if there's any potential overlap or any type of conflicting points or any type of risks to what's being promised by someone who's attending that meeting. So I'll just show you an example. So can you see, so this is son of Basel, right? You see this? So look what he's doing right now. So this is a real example. This is live. Now, son of Basel is giving me tremendous value because he is going through every single attendee, right? As many as he can go through, right? We have a lot more jumping in right now. But when this was last updated, it found these attendees. And then it's finding as much information about each attendee. So who they are, their roles, their qualifications, their credentials, their work experience, their LinkedIn presence, their social presence, their title, their current company, their current responsibilities, etc. All of this. There it is. There's you, Montes. So all of this gets fed into the FirmAdapt model. So the FirmAdapt model, or the son of Basel FirmAdapt model, is then trained. It's continuously recursively improving. That's the whole point of this, is it's recursively improving, becoming smarter, and its intelligence is expanding. So as it becomes more intelligent and more aware of what its function is in FirmAdapt, it will continue to provide more direct insights. So you can see right now that he's recording. See? So it's updating in meeting, Google Meet. I don't know if you can't see that little pop-up, but you can see that he's red. So you can see he's recording now. If I go to Insights, as an example, or go Ask AI, this is where it becomes really helpful because I can just go in here and say what action items are still open, or what decisions were made this week, summarize all my meetings from today, or what topics, right? So you would basically, I'll show you now, 1 second. So I can say what action items are still open, and then I can ask, and then it'll search, right? And then here are the weekly insights. So AI commercialization, partnership expansions, etc. And it's showing me right now at the end of the meetings, I can go in and just click a specific meeting, and then it'll give me a recording of the meeting, right? So it'll give me an exact recording of the meeting itself. And then when I'm in there in the meeting itself, it'll also give me a full transcript of the meeting itself. It'll give me the highlights, and then it allows me to do follow-up emails. So just this alone is extremely helpful in being able to save time, right? And being able to save time and being able to just be more efficient on what I'm doing, you know? And again, like I'm showing you this just because you're asking about meetings and about emails, but just that alone is so helpful. Like, and I'll give you another example. So I want to show you the meeting notes, because the meeting notes is just so, like, it's just so helpful to have that like available. Okay, so here's one. So look at this. So this is one of like the meeting notes. So it's like, it tells me exactly about what we were talking about. We were talking about the financial markets in Canada. Then it's saying, was there clarification needed? Is there a final recap? What are the action items? What are the topics discussed, etc. Right? We were talking about baseball and some tennis, right? But it's all there. And I love having that. I love having the recording. I love having everything organized. I love having the son of Basel with me like everywhere. He's just like my little buddy. He just goes everywhere with me. And then I call him. So I literally call him and I speak to him every day. Like this is him. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see yeah, you can see that, right? Son of Basel. So that's him. And I call him. See, like this.
Son of Basel at FirmAdapt, how can I help you?
Hello, son of Basel. Can you give me an update using real-time data about the precious metals market in the United States?
Gold $4,695 per ounce, up 0.1% tonight on safe haven demand from weak U.S. jobs data and geopolitical jitters. Silver's holding at $77.33, also up a touch, while platinum's $2,062 and palladium's $1,123. Markets are firm across the board per Kitco's latest New York spot.
Can you use my market analysis and research to tell me what are some indicators to use to predict the next recession? So now it's using my analysis and research, like the thousands of pages that I fed it.
Recession indicators include an inverted yield curve, short-term rates above long-term, which has predicted most U.S. downturns, but is less reliable now due to post-inflation supply boosts. The SOM rule triggered by a 0.5% rise in the 3-month unemployment average and falling corporate profits, which lead to layoffs. The Conference Board leading economic index, LEI, combines these with manufacturing orders and stock prices for strong short-term signals. JP Morgan pegs next year odds under 30% after discounting the yield curve. Keep watching industrial output and CEO sentiment too.
Can you tell me what's on my calendar tomorrow, please?
Two calls tomorrow, 1 at 2 p.m. with Diane Berga from FirmAdapt.
See, so it's like, and I want you to like understand how long that took, because it's not just a journal, you know, like a chat bot that you can just buy off the shelf. Like this is trained on me, and it is completely calibrated to me, and it is privately managed. So it's not on some, you know, global cloud that everyone has access to that they can hack into. It's behind a private gateway, behind multiple levels of encryption, multiple levels of securities, multiple layers of protection. And then it's able to give me an accurate answer all within 8 seconds. The first version was 3 minutes, brought it down to 70 seconds, 60 seconds, 50, 30, and then now 8 seconds. And hopefully with the next version, it'll be even less. All in my voice. So like, to me, I think that's pretty cool. I got, you know, so yeah, that's helpful. Okay, so you're asking, don't you have to get everyone in the meetings to say, okay, to allow, yeah, always. So today, like I mentioned that the call was gonna likely be, you know, recorded. But at the same time, like if you say something that you don't want me to share and so forth, then obviously I won't share it. Like that's of course no problem at all. And then I do see. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you, Liam. Okay, so what are some other? Is this the bot one of your offering? It is. Yeah, it's more of like our. It's like more of our flagship demo that we use because I'm literally using it. So it's like dogfooting, right? Like I'm actually using it every day. And it just keeps getting better and better. Like it's pretty exciting. I love it. I personally feel like it's just a lot of fun. Like I think it's a lot of fun. And like I did this too, where you can like see which models are better, which ones are not. And then you can try compare and contrast the different models. But the best one that I found is exactly what I was showing you. But there's 3 parts to it, and I don't want to go into more detail unless people really want me to, but there's the ears. So there's a specific set of models that are used for hearing. There's a set of models that are used for the brain. So how the brain is functioning, interpreting the content, understanding it. And then there's a model for the mouth. So the ears is speech to text. That's STT. The brain is the interpreting, translating, transliterating, summarizing, etc. That's the brain. So usually you'll use the most computationally rigorous model for the brain. And then for the eyes or for the mouth and the eyes more or less, is the text to speech, right? So TTS. So you have STT, brain, and then TTS. if somebody tries to sell you something that is one model, as long as I'm trust me from my experience, I've tested this as extensively as I could. It doesn't work as well. It doesn't work as well. So anyways, I can go into a lot more detail, but I don't want to like bore you to death about that, but hopefully that answers that question. And look, I just got another alert. I want to show you this. This is cool. I hope you guys are finding this interesting. Like, so this is so I have Son of Basel in Telegram. This is how I communicate with him, and I communicate with him in WhatsApp as well. So basically, on Telegram, I know some of you hate Telegram, but I'm going to show it to you. So this is Son of Basel in Telegram. So I can say, hi, can you please help me draft a quick post on my Basel Ismail Typefully account about the current state of the financial capital markets in China. Please do not publish it. Please draft it and make sure to not use any double hyphenations or em dashes, and do not use standard AI if this and that language, right? And then it'll go. You see how it's typing right away? I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? What I'm highlighting? So that's Son of Basel typing. He's typing back to me, right? So he's here. He's here. He's also running search for me because he's managing the team. Yeah. So Son of Basel is managing a team. The team's preparing a draft for me on the capital markets in China today. He's going to push that draft to a content aggregation service that I use called Typefully. Then Son of Basel will then synchronize that draft to my X account, my LinkedIn account, my Blue Sky account, and my Threads account. And it'll then take that draft, rewrite the draft using my own natural language. Right now, this is in my own natural language. This is not a normal draft. This is not a normal draft. This is a draft in my language. So I've given it thousands of pages to be trained on my language, on my style, my stylistic tone, my linguistic pattern, the way I communicate, the way I articulate. It knows that. And it knows not to say certain words, certain things. It knows not to use certain vocabulary. And it's taken so long. It's been so painful to build this, but it's saved me so much time. Saving me so much time, because what I can do, I can take a screenshot of what we're looking at, which is the financial health, and say, I'll show you. So I'll say, summarize key points about what you see in this Mars company audit from FirmAdapt.com. And then highlight simple points. And then do it. And then he'll get back to work. So he's constantly working. There's never a minute he doesn't work. He works all the time for me. And the beauty of this is I can send recorded audios. I could send videos. I could send images. And he constantly interacts back with me. This is the Son of Basel. This is a bot version of Son of Basel that is bound to me specifically. So if you try to go to Son of Basel bot, you won't be able to interact with him. He won't respond back to you because it's bound to me, right? And this is where people you're seeing are using systems called like OpenClaw and all these different systems. A lot of those systems are unbelievably unsecure. But if you know what you're doing and you know which agents and which skills and which configurations and how to get everything set up properly, then you can do it safely through private gateways, through proper firewalls, through multi-threaded like layers of security, etc. Right? So, anyways, I just thought you guys would find that cool. So I'll go back to the audit. But if there are any more questions, I'm happy to go through them. So, but yeah, that's what I really wanted to just show you that. And then I think there are other questions. There's quite a bit. Does the audit tool work for nonprofit organization? Is there enough? Absolutely, it works for nonprofit organization. Absolutely. So, Rebecca, maybe you could send me, if you're open to it. If you're not open to it, it's perfectly fine. But if you send me the website domain, I will put it into the audit, and then we can go through the results together. And then I'm also building, like the team is building another audit function that's a 1 minute or less audit. Because right now this audit takes 5 minutes. If you only knew how the original version, how long it took, you would have been like, Jesus, 5 minutes is nothing. But it used to take like, I'm not exaggerating, it was taking like 2 hours to do a proper audit. Then we got it down to like 30 minutes, which is still too long. So 5 minutes is great. My goal is to get to 1 minute, but I don't know if that's even humanly possible or just computationally possible. There's just too much content to go through. If you give me the domain, I will do it. Anyways, so the financial health. This is where, if you're a publicly traded company or if you're a privately managed entity and you have a sign an NDA, like we're literally in the process of doing this with like 4 other clients right now, is they disclose their financial statements. I will run with the team a forensic audit. So that's a separate output, and I'll show you what that looks like using the publicly traded audits, but the forensic audits will uncover more than you could possibly imagine in terms of low-hanging fruit, corporate bloat, excessive functions that are not driving their goals, extra hiring, duplicate roles that have not been backfilled that should very much be backfilled. There's just like enormous opportunity with it. And then the audit also shows founders and leaders, and it shows you their LinkedIns as well. So you can like, investigate and confirm like who the founders are. And then the social media presence, this alone, honestly, this alone to me is like worth more than anything, because it just tells you like right away, how is this company doing? Like, is it performing highly on these platforms? What's the level of engagement? What's the level of quality? This takes a lot of time to process, and there's a lot more that we can add to it, but it all ties into brand reputation, right? So, and then Wikipedia page views. So Wikipedia page views, website traffic and analytics, like this is where for client engagements, they will usually give us access to Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and usually we'll ask them to set up something called Microsoft Clarity. So then we can observe how people are behaving on their app, or how they're behaving on their platform, or how they're behaving on their fund, right? And they could track mouse movements. You can track like log stream analytics, click-through analytics. There's so much you can do, but the only way to do that is to have access to some of these internal tools, obviously, right? So there's only so much we could do in terms of like website traffic, Wikipedia traffic, and so forth. But in the public companies, we do Google search trends. We look at like search popularity across different platforms. So all of that is part of the audit. And then this part, I think, is like one of the coolest parts. So this is a customer journey simulation. So it's telling you from the customer standpoint, where are your users dropping off the site? And where are your users tending to stick around? And where are they essentially bouncing immediately? So if customers are staying for 30 seconds or more, it's considered, or more than really 6 or 7 seconds, it's considered a non-bounce, right? That's extremely important, right? There's a reason I'm mentioning that. Is because you don't want your prospects dropping off the site with an extremely high bounce rate soon after arrival, right? You need some kind of stickiness, you need some kind of retention. So this gives you some visibility into that. So it gives you a little bit of the drop off. This is actually a really low drop off. So I'm impressed with that. But then what's their first impression, right? What do you see in the first 10 seconds? So you're like, okay, site feels more like an investor corporate relations page, which is probably fine for Mars because they're mostly targeting B2B. But it is professionally polished. It is mobile optimized. There are some recommendations in terms of making it consumer facing also, including prominent product showcases. Like there's so much you could do with a company of this size, right? And then trust building, evaluation. So their pricing. So this gets tricky because B2B, they don't disclose their prices as much, right? Because it's difficult. Like for us, how am I going to disclose my price? The price is dictated by the scope of requirements and the statement of work. I can't give you like a general, so it makes sense for B2B, but for B2C, you'll see a lot more detail here. So business to consumer, you'll see a lot more. And then conversion potential. So this is where if you do conversion rate optimization, which is basically you focus on the people who are arriving to your website or your web app, and you observe them, you analyze them, and you study their behavior very closely to try to convert them from prospects to actual paying customers, or convert them from prospects to them actually reaching out to you through a call to action of some sort. So that is all CRO engineering. That's like a whole separate service but it's still part of reengineering and automation. So hopefully you guys are getting an idea of like what I'm talking about here. And then post-purchase, like what does the post-purchase process look like? And then the last part. So the last part, I go back and forth on this, like whether or not I should put this at the top, but the last part to me is probably, it's like probably the most, or the second most important section in the whole thing, because it's a thorough AI readiness website audit, and like first of its kind, right? I mean, it's like we're trying to drive value here, and I'm humble when I say that it is the first of its kind, right? Because it's looking at the overall web presence of the website, and I'll explain more. So what is it doing, right? What is it trying to help you with? It's trying to make sure that you accomplish two things. That you are crawlable. Like this is, I don't know how many times I have to explain this to people when I meet with them, because they're just like, we don't understand what that means. And it's like, is your website even machine readable? Right? That is like step one. It's like the number one most important requirement for a company, is that to make sure that your website is machine readable and is crawlable by AI agents, which are, think of them as virtual bots. The next version of a bot is considered an AI agent. And then are they crawlable by large language model platforms like ChatGPT, by Olama, or by Meta, or by Anthropic Cloud, right? Are they even crawlable by those platforms, right? There's so many websites that are not even crawlable by those platforms. So you literally, you might as well just have no website. Like, and I'm not exaggerating. You might as well have no website because it's not even crawlable. Like they've either blocked the bots, or they have made it in a way where the website is rendering only for you as a user. So it's called client-side rendering. And you don't want that. You don't ever want client-side rendering. You don't want only the person seeing the website. You want it to be easily crawlable and easily machine readable. So that's one huge component. The second biggest component is discoverability. So discoverability is something that like most people just don't take any time to look at. And that means, okay, fine, you've made your site crawlable, congratulations, right? Like Felicitación, like great, that's fantastic. But is your content even discoverable? Like what is your visibility when it comes to generative AI engine optimization, right? They call it AEO or GEO. The acronym doesn't matter, right? None of this matters. What matters is your site crawlable? Is your site discoverable? If it's not discoverable, then you're in deep, it's not looking good, right? Because you're Like, what are you doing, right? It's like the bare minimum. It's like, a company 10 years ago starting up with no website. It literally does. This is like how I feel, like how critical this is. And then when you go and you expand upon that and you go into the more granular detail, you talk about visibility and citability. So like, are any of your blog posts or any of your content pages even citable in AI systems? So when somebody searches, let's say you run a like a marketing automation agency, and somebody's typing in, I want a marketing automation agency in like Connecticut, United States, and they're trying to find one, but they're going into GBT, and they're asking GBT, give me the top 3 marketing automation agencies that are within a 50-mile radius, right, or 50-kilometer radius, and you're not even there, you're not even cited. So that's what I mean, right? So visibility is critical, citability, and then rendering, right? So I'll show you that. So this website is server-side rendered, good. And the way you know that is because look at the number of words that it's capturing from each page, right? Now, this is fine, but the citability is garbage, right? For a company of this size, its citability should be much higher. Should be much higher. But again, you could also argue, the counter argument would be it's B2B. Still, I would still argue that they can definitely improve upon it and structure it in a better way. But overall, they're not absolutely terrible. But then this is where you have all the improvement plans. So it tells you specifically for each AI system what you can do to improve your crawlability, discoverability, citability, all of these things, right? The same things that we've talked about. And then you have the traditional health, like traditional SEO, which is even more critical now than ever, where the exact specifics don't matter as much as you think. What matters more is, do you have a clear title? Do you have a clear description? Do you have proper structured data? Do you pass the authenticity, integrity, and authority like variables when it comes to being able to be indexed and ranked? Yeah. So that's what the audit's for. So you can see that there's a lot here. There's even like a faith-based compliance where it tells you, is your company compliant to these strict religious frameworks? It just depends if you want to be like a faith-based user and you only want to use companies that are completely compliant, right? It's up to you how, your religiosity and your beliefs, right? But these recommendations are very detailed. It tells you these are things that you should consider doing given a certain amount of time and given a certain amount of budget. So that's really, those are the ways that you would be able to at least have a good understanding of what area of the business can you at least get started on. So, and that's literally that's literally what we do. So it's like AI readiness, coming up with a constructed strategy, inventorizing, itemizing resources, looking to optimize, trying to make sure we're producing some type of return on investment. And then when we're building AI automation and AI agents, obviously these are purpose-built. This is like very bespoke solutions, but we'll try to repurpose as much as we can to try to reduce the development time, right? And that's literally, that's how you would do it. So hopefully that helps, but like, let's go through some questions. Oh, thank you, Zahid. I appreciate that. Thank you, brother. And then this is indeed unbelievable. Have to go. Oh, thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. It's very sweet of you. Like, just made my Wednesday. Oh, thank you, Alfred. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very, very kind of you. Okay, what are some other questions? We have a lot of people on, so please ask questions. Anything you want me to expand upon, clarify. I mean, yeah, there's a lot. Like, I wanted to go through the 90-day AI roadmap as well, but I want to first just go through maybe some questions. But yeah. I'll drink some water while you all are thinking about it. But don't be shy here. You know, it's not the time to be shy. just jump in. Oh, Melissa, you joined us. Wow. That's really early for you. Thank you. You got to say something now that you're on. It's like early morning in Paris.
It's 2 a.m.
Yeah, I know. It's good to hear your voice. Yeah. We should run this on Crippet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's really interesting. I really like your son of Basel. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's my
Yeah.
pleasure. He's
It's
my
great.
he's my baby. It's making my boys a little jealous. They're like, you know, what about us? It's funny. They're like doing the vibe test. I keep asking him, does he sound like me? Does he sound like me? And Zane says yes, but Ryan, who's the 8-year-old, says no. He sounds like someone completely different. I'm like, okay, man, you know, take it easy. It's not like he's replacing you. But yeah, it's funny. No other questions? Nothing else? Okay, well then I'll keep going. The 90-day roadmap is something I wanted to send you all with because it just goes through what we talked about. And I know some of you are AI automation engineers and devs and people who are doing some type of process reengineering on the side for different, smaller clients. And I've worked with some of you. Usually you're the ones, pushing the larger projects our way. And I would encourage you all to at least get started yourself. Like that's the whole point of this, is that just get started yourself, get acquainted with the tools, get acquainted with the resources available, and then just go through the process of trying to identify what are some things that could be potentially done as like a simple workflow automation. Like you wouldn't need to hire us if it's just a simple automation of I want this article or this news channel to be read every morning and I want it to be summarized and I want it to be sent to me, right? That's like a simple function. That's not something that you would need to hire like a full-blown infrastructure team for, right? But at least that gives you a sample. I mean, I think that's the whole point of the Son of Basel. It just gives you a sample. It's just something for you to wrap your mind around. It's almost like the old games from back in the day where they used to have demo games or like these 2-minute demo versions of a game that are really cool. And you're like, oh, this is really cool. And you're like, okay, now I'm like, geez, there's a lot more I can do now that I know that this is possible, right? But the process is still very much the same. The first month, I would focus on auditing, diagnosing, just opening up your mind to what's there and what are the opportunities and what you could be doing in a more efficient way, in a leaner way, in a faster, meaner way. And then that includes running the audit, mapping the workflows, identifying shadow AI, so any type of team in your company that's already using AI in some capacity, whether or not that's cloud or GBT or using DeepSeek or using any of those models. You need to be careful and make sure that they're actually using accredited systems, they're using the proper credentials, and they're not disclosing proprietary intellectual property, they're not uploading any sensitive personal identifiable information. I can't even tell you how many companies I've seen as part of the auditing process, as part of us gathering information, that we reveal to them that their employees have been using these non-compliant tools and all of their financials have been leaking out. You're like, what is going on here? Like, come on. If we can build you a portal that allows you to have access to those tools, but in a regulated way, right? And then plotting the opportunity. This is very important. And some of this I show at the bottom here. So plotting opportunities on impact versus difficulty. This, I think, is very good. So it's like I would say these are very good way to get started. So it's like internal FAQ assistance, Slack and Teams threads, calendar scheduling helpers, documenting, drafting, and summarizing, email triage, meeting notes, right? These are like what we were talking about, right? So this is what we were talking about. Custom AI agents with multi-system access, virtual AI employees for full role coverage, customer facing. This is son of Basel, right? So that's a major project. The difficulty was very high, but now that I've built it, it's probably closer to a quick win, I would say at this point. And then avoiding. So there's work where you have to do custom training, custom fine tuning. That is critical for some functions. So if it's a personal project, no, you don't need to do that. But if it's an enterprise project or a commercial project, you absolutely need to do that. Like the level of quality and accuracy of the output goes up exponentially if you're using a fine-tuned model rather than a off-the-shelf stock model, right? And think of it that way. Would you rather have a beautifully architected, custom-designed house, or would you rather have a cookie-cutter stock house? I think if you put it in that perspective, the decision is easy, right? It should be very straightforward. So that's the prioritization matrix. So that's really days 1 to 30. And then the second month, you can start building, this is where we focus on prototypes. So pilots, right? So this is where we spend a lot of our time on, right? Is building prototypes, iterating those prototypes, letting the client interact with them. So this is where you would be able to actually understand and like be able to look and feel, and you see a live system that's in production. It may or may not be connected to live data at that point, but it's just for you to be able to see it visually and to understand what it's doing and how is it solving the problem. And then the third month is when you truly like scale and operate. Obviously, this can be like contracted or expanded based upon the need, but that's the purpose of it. And then these rules are just rules that I wrote out to try to save you time and save you money. So don't buy right off the bat, right? So diagnose before you buy. Don't automate what's broken, just like what Luis was saying at the beginning of the workshop. Production beats pilots. So essentially design it for what you feel it should be, and then build that into a prototype. But don't just build purely for a tiny pilot. That's not going to be worth your time and effort. It's not going to be worth our time and effort. And then measure or it didn't happen. So making sure you have quantitative measurements, you have qualitative measurements through surveys, that you are monitoring the success or the failure of the app, that you're constantly taking feedback. And then the other thing is owning it internally, and that's straightforward. But there's a sixth one that I would definitely push is whatever you build from now on, I would strongly encourage you to have it AI natively empowered. So you should never allow for any type of application in your business that does not have native AI integration, because AI is only going to continue to improve. It's only going to continue to become more powerful. And if you put yourself in a position where the applications or the platforms of your business is AI powered or AI native, it's a total game changer. Like it's literally, there's nothing comparable to it. Like there was one business owner who, she's on the call, but I don't want to say your name unless you want to speak. But she reached out to me prior to the workshop, and she said, she asked, she wants to create a new brand, a new AI native brand, because she's overwhelmed with her cumbersome and repetitive and mundane manual intensive tasks and processes that she's doing that are shifting her attention away from growing her business itself. And she sells soaps and other types of products that women and men equally love. And she's tired of that. She wants to keep doing that, but she also wants to build a new brand and have it AI powered from day one, right? And she needs help with it, right? So that is that's a good engagement. That's a good project where to get us involved in and to help, you know. Yes, hi, Diane. So you can unmute and say hi if you want to. Good. I just didn't want to put you on the spot there, but yeah. But if there are any questions, you know, I'm happy to answer them. Oh, hi, Diane.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me in addition to what you sent? Is there anything you want me to go through or show? You want me?
No, we have a meeting tomorrow. We can talk about a bunch of things, but yeah, definitely true that I have a social media girl and she does really wonderful work, but I just can't get her on board for AI. And you know, I discovered that we got a conversion through Chat GPT, and she said, yeah. I said, well, you don't understand that we could be doing much better if we're, you know, understanding all these AI concepts and being more on top of AI. So I need to convince her. And yeah, I'd love to just have a brand that I wouldn't even have to really manage much.
Exactly.
So even a lot of my time wouldn't be taking up doing all the administration stuff, the marketing, the sourcing, all that stuff.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And it's difficult for people to change. Like if you ask me if there was any one challenge I have, it's change management. It's like people management. It's trying to upskill them or change their mindset. It's like, have you considered looking at it this way? Have you considered looking at it this way? It's just it's a completely different mentality. So, but no, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, great.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Oh, hi, Keisha. Please go ahead.
Hi. So I've been playing around with AI agents for the last month. And what I've noticed is I have no baseline for my agents. They are off just automatically optimizing themselves, changing the rules just off of any kind of comment I make or feedback I make. How are you controlling your agents from just pulling the rug from under you? Like you think they're going to be doing one thing and then they are just doing something completely different because they've optimized.
So what I would do is go to skillful.sh, and this allows you to see the entire universe of AI broken into 3 categories: agents, skills, MCP servers, right? And for everyone's information, agents are essentially autonomous bots, right? This is like these living and breathing 24/7 online functions that do a particular set of tasks. And what Keisha is saying is that her agents are not doing precisely what she's saying. They're just having a sort of the mind of their own. And this is like a challenge that a lot of people have. So this site helps you because you can go into skills, and these skills is how you would go and train the agent to be able to do particular functions in precisely the way that you would want. And they coordinate with markdowns, so MD files, they call them. And those markdown files is how you would set guardrails for the personality of the agent, for the tonality, for what their function and form and what they're allowed to do versus not allowed to do. And it allows you to also manage their permissions. Like, do they have read-only access? Do they have write-only? The way I do it a lot of times is I use exclusionary lists. So rather than inclusionary lists, I use exclusionary lists. I say, you are not allowed to do X. You are not allowed. You saw that with my Telegram, right? I said, you are not allowed to friggin' publish, right? Because sometimes it'll go and try to publish. Like, I never asked you to publish. Oh, sorry, sir. I thought that's where you're. No, I didn't ask you to do that, right? It's so frustrating, right? So it's like, so exclusionary lists help a lot. So that's tip 1, is like, look at the skills, try to find one that's already built. And then once you find one that's interesting, that you think, okay, this could be interesting, this could potentially solve a problem that I needed to solve, what you would do is you would click it. So let's say instructor, okay? Once you click the skill, you scroll down and you run security scan. This is absolutely essential. Like there's no question. If you don't see results, run a security scan. But someone else already ran a scan on this, so it's fine. But it's looking for any type of security vulnerability or information security risk with this package, because skills are actual development packages, right? You have to definitely run a security scan. And then you see, is it even peer reviewed, right? How many GitHub stars does it have? That's the code repository where it's published. How many monthly downloads? I know you think that this could be very high, but it's actually quite accurate because agents are using this, right? How many times has the code repository been forked, right? So usually you want that over 300. So those are the kinds of things you want. This is a little strange to me. The fact that it's only posted to 3 directories, because we're tracking, 55 here. So that's a little odd, but it's not a showstopper. It's just a little odd, sort of like proceed with caution kind of thing. It's also pretty old. So I would be like, that's a little weird. So I would look into it. But if something you would look into and you just go right to the repository and you see, like, okay, all right, so it's been forked almost 1,000 times, like we said, 12.9 thousand, so almost 13,000 times that it's been starred. Has it been updated recently? Yes. It has, a little bit. Okay, yeah, so there it is, right? So this is an example. So that's what I would do. So that's one. Another thing I would do is run multiple recursive models. So have a secondary model that will proofread what the first model does and keeps him or her in check. And that's literally what I'm doing with Son of Basel, is I have multiple recursive models, multiple layers, because it's the only way. It's like that's the best way to make sure that he doesn't just go off rails and he starts doing things that I never asked him to do, So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that is very helpful. I didn't know about this skillful. I don't know if I'll know exactly how to use it and fork it in, because I'm just using Claude.ai right now, and I just started adding the skills in so that I can have a baseline. I've also tried to add like a change management type tool. Nice. So back when I was in my old software days, we would have a whole meeting just to decide on one code change, right? Yeah, now it's just like nobody's meeting. They're just deciding. Yeah. And I don't want them to do that. One of the things that somebody, I don't know. Oh, I don't know if I read it somewhere else, but now, because I ask a question about what you're doing and why, they just assume I think they did something wrong, and they say, oh, well, I'll do this now. No, I just want to understand what you're doing and why. So now I put in there, this is a question only. Yeah. Do not do anything.
Don't do anything else. Yeah, it's like, just stop. Yeah, it's like I didn't ask you to do that. One thing that I've been building out, I haven't disclosed this to anyone, but I'm building out, like I've always had a group of agents that have functioned as a board of directors for me. So they constantly give me feedback. So I have like my CFO, I have my CTO, I have my CIO, I have my CMO, and I set the guardrails for them. I'm like, I only want you to function as an expert, senior advisor, and consultant for me in this one function, right? And then I ask them, I'm thinking of doing X, thinking of entering this market. I'm thinking of potentially trying to reach out to these prospects. What do you think? And each of them will give me feedback, right? But I feel like it could be a lot better. So what I've created, as I'm in the process of creating, is like a whole team of Son of Basels. So that each person will look like me, but like essentially will be trained in their own way, specifically custom training, right? And that's just a lot more complicated. But I just imagine how helpful that would be to do what you're saying, right? Is proper change management. Like that's incredible. Like that Google. Did you see what Google did recently, where they looked around the room and they were like, we're way behind. Like this is ridiculous. Like we need to considerably uplift a lot of what we're doing, and we have to surpass Claude, right? We have to surpass Anthropic. So it's like a similar exercise kind of thing. So pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's scary because
Oh, it is.
now you guys, we need to take our time and do it right. But then the AI doesn't know it needs to take time. Sometimes I'm like, you're going faster than I can even, you just output 100 things. I can't review all of this.
You should prompt it. You know what you say? You said, and I do this. I say, wow, you came up with that rather quickly. Are you sure you didn't skip any steps? I don't want any shortcuts taken. Every single time I say that, it always goes back. So, oh, you're right, sir. Let me go back to the drawing board. Let me come up with a proper answer. I'm like, just slow down. Like, not everything is emergent. Right?
right. That's actually a good, did you skip any steps? I asked it today, I said, did you make any assumptions? And if you did, don't give me an answer. Go ahead and ask me so I can clear up your assumptions.
Yeah,
and that makes a big difference.
It makes a huge difference. So, well, thank you for that question. Are there any other questions? All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I hope you found it helpful and productive use of your time. And if you want to schedule time with us, or you want me to take a look at everything you're doing, and you want to be able to just get in touch and so forth, then all you do is just go to firmadapt.com, and then you just go down and schedule a call. As simple as that. So happy to help, and I can stick around for a few more minutes if anyone else has any questions, or if you want my help or anything, please. But thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. Good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Basil.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Is there a recording?
There is, yes. The son of Basil's recording. So yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm sorry I missed a lot of it. I was in a different AI Toastmaster call. So we're just starting up. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Keisha. Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. That's very, very sweet of you to say. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.